And it sounds more, holy shit. Hold on, give me a second. Hello peeps, today is the battle of the Xenns. It's not an alien morpho, it's not an alien, it's just IMs that we're going to talk about. I was thinking of that stupid word, xenomorph, maybe? I don't know. I screwed up that joke. Anyway, moving on. If you ever watched my review of the Xenns up, you'll know I absolutely, it is my favorite IM. Now, over time, one of my drivers, the left side, developed about 6 dB of bass roll-off, channel imbalance. I was crushed. I haven't listened to them. They sat in my box of, I'm never going to listen to these IMs again. Along came an opportunity to pick up another set of the Xenns up, and my heart grew 3 sizes bigger. At the same time, I also got a chance to listen to the newer Xenns Mangird top. And shout out to Dennis. Thank you for this opportunity. At the same time, he's also loaned me the Yanyin Canon 2, which I'll also do a separate review on that as well. So, but let's talk about the top, shall we? $530 USD. Comes with one 10mm beryllium, I call it beryllium, driver, two Yanyin 2600 balanced armatures for the mids, my absolute most favorite for the mids in BAs, four Yanyin E50Ds for the highs, two Knowles 32406 BAs for the ultra highs, and that's how this one is configured. So 2 BAs for the mids, 4 for the highs, 2 for the ultra highs. So 6 BAs dedicated to the highs and 2 for the mids. How does that play out in sound? Well, at the end of this, I am going to do a A/B with the up, and I'll give you a little bit of impressions as well with compared to the C2 to give you some context in this. Let's talk about sources, tips, cables just for a second to jump into this. So did a lot of playing around ABC, ABC, ABC. I'm like a freaking alphabet god. Now, the set of, oh, super pretty. I didn't notice that before. Well, it's because I've been listening to it at night, you idiot. So that's interesting. So the Xenns top with these green translucent shells and the kind of I forget what you call that, abalone kind of green shell top. Super pretty, not super fancy. And again, it says Mangird on one side and it says Mangird on the other side. All right. So here I'm using it after all of my rolling and tipping and all that kind of happy jazz. I'm using the Divinus velvet tips, and the reason I use these is because it tightened up the bottom end and it kind of tamed the top end, upper mids just a little bit. And on this, I'm also using the most fabulous PENON ASOS SPC cable. It's like a rope. I freaking love it. It's massive. It's super soft, but it's crazy thick. Now on the Canon, I'm using ASOS crystal tips, and I am using this very cool cable from PULA. I don't want to hear any dingle dongle jokes, thank you. And this one is a SPC and pure copper mix. It's a very resolving cable, quite a surprise. It's a little bit unwieldy, kind of like the Evo cable was, but it sounds damn good. On the ups, I am using the Faul H570 tips. I'm using a DDHiFi BC130A cable. I think it's the A cable. That's the one that has a pure silver core and has OFC as well, and it's shielded. Really, really nice cable. That's what I found worked on my set of ups. Now, so that was the configuration. Let's talk about sources for a sec. So tips are number one. Remember sources. So this is an interesting one. So I have all my DAPs and my... so I typically start with the ESS stuff, and I move towards warmer as I feel. Now with the top journey, in its sound signature, being a little mid-forward, I wanted to kind of tone it down a little bit. And to my surprise, EPZ sent me these little dongles that have come out or coming out, the TP30 Pro and TP50, which you see here with a little LCD screen. This is where I ended up, believe it or not, on a dongle. And though my Shandling, Shandling uses the M8, uses the AKM 4499. Both of my desktop stacks are also AKM to varying degrees of warmth. The Ibasso DX170 is my mid tonality one. But I actually really love the sound signature. I'm going to do a full review on this little dongle. So now, one thing that it was this little dongle and Cirrus Logic for me, what it does is it smooths it more than anything else. If you take an ESS signature, that's very clean and analytical. Some say it has a little bit of an edge to it. Well, I think then the Cirrus Logic chips take the edge off. And that's what I hear with this. Not so, maybe a hint of warmth, but it just smooths out the sound signature, and it really worked well for the top, and it worked well for, it's resolving enough for the up, and also for the Canon C2. So that's where I ended up with sources, Cirrus Logic, and I used a dongle to do it. On low gain, which is about 171 milliwatts of power at 32 ohms. So more than enough to drive it. No problems on low gain even. So that was the best synergy that I found for those. Now, let's talk a little bit about sound, shall we? So the overall sound signature of the top, let's take it back for a second. So what did I love so much about the up? Well, the bass, for one, still probably the nicest bass out of all the IMs I have. It has sub-bass impact. It has the speed of the beryllium kind of coated driver for impact, for cellos, for piano, for Nils Lofgren when he's playing and it hits the side of his guitar and the thump, that it comes through crystal clear with authority. That's what I like about beryllium drivers, the musicality and the speed. And the top also uses a beryllium driver as well, and might be the same one, I don't know. But that's what I loved about the up, and I love the up and the fact that it had ESTs in there, but it wasn't. Some people complain that the EST implementation wasn't the best. For me, it was perfect. It added that little bit of special sauce to put some very details in the upper highs and the sparkly cymbal strikes, that kind of stuff. Adds a specialness, and I could hear it in a couple songs, and we'll get into that as well. And I like the warm. The up is a bit warm or dark, if you want to call it, but not too much. And in this particular application, where it adds in quite a bit of mid bass, and that's one of the difference between this and the top, and we'll talk about that. But that added mid bass for me adds some coloration, bass bleed, you might say, into the mids. But I like it. And it's that very fine line. It's one of these IMs that has done it perfectly, where they add enough coloration into the mids or the lower mids to give male vocals a really nice weight. Piano's fantastic. That's fantastic. It was great. but not too much to muck up female vocals. Yes, female vocals are more colored than neutral, but that's my preferences as well. So it's very funny to go full circle. The Up was one of my first IMs that big purchases that I did. And it's funny circling back because I haven't listened to it in so long, and I fell in love all over again. Now, I was hoping the Top was going to be the successor, but everything I've read so far or seen impressions, nobody has come out and said the Top is the top. And I don't think Xenns put it in a position to be the replacement. I think it was an alternate tuning. And for me, it's definitely not a replacement to the Up. And if I had a choice, I would still pay the adder for the Up. I mean, $530 US for the Top. And right now you can get the Up for $699, but I've seen it cheaper on AliExpress, like where it was 630 Canadian, which would be, you know, 500 bucks, a little over 500 US, about the same or less actually as the Top. And for me, my preference is a little bit bassier, a little bit darker, a little bit warmer, and the EST sizzle up top. I go Up. Anyway, let's take the spotlight back to the Top, because that's what we want to hear. And I'm going to give you my fair impressions of what I think it sounds like. And maybe the Top would be more of your signature favorite than the Up. And if you were looking and listening and reading impressions about the Up and saying it's warm and a little bit dark in the mids, then maybe the Top will be for you, or maybe not. So, Tandy Tongue, Trent Moeller, just giving you some track impressions now. Listening for stage, spatial clues were great. Great bass on this as well. So, I mean, not comparing it to anything else. You stick it in your ears. And you go, you know what, that bass is nice. That dynamic driver, that beryllium driver is fantastic. And I think with the Top, in the overall tuning, what I think Xenns Mangird was going to do is they were trying to, I'll say clean up, make the lower mids less thick. And they also added some more, and I'll pull up a graph here. So they also added some more information around the 800 hertz as well. A little bit more information. 1-2 dB, not a lot of on paper, but it makes a sonic difference, that's for sure. Some of the other two, as we talk about graphs instead of Trent, sort of track impressions for now, just to go over a little bit about that. The other thing that changed in the tuning was in the Ups, at around 2500 hertz, there is probably 3.5-4 dB more information at around 2500 hertz, where that is a little scooped out into the Top. And the other big difference is too, and then they both climb back up to around 4500 hertz. And this is the other difference, where the Top starts to kind of roll off down to 10K, where the Up still has more energy at the 7 to 11K. So there's more energy in the Up than there is at the Top, in the very top end. Now, there's also a different driver configuration between the two. So yes, there's some tuning differences between the two, and there's also some driver configuration changes where the Top uses one dynamic driver and 8 BAs. The up uses 4 BAs, 1 dynamic driver, and 2 ESTs. So again, it's using a 10 millimeter buried driver, but in the mids, it's using a 2300 series balanced armatures for the mids, where the top was using 2600, the better BAs for the mids. In the up, there also has 2 Yanyin high BAs for doing the highs, where the top uses 4 Yanyin. So the other difference is 2 Knowles super tweeters for the ultra highs in the top, where the up is using the ESTs, the 2 Yanyin ESTs. So there's a driver difference there, and it also translates into the overall tuning. So where the top leans out that lower mids, cleans it up a little bit, you would say, and adds a little bit more energy at 800, and then a little bit more rolled off on the top. So what you get is this, and let's talk about some track impressions, and say versus the up, if you have heard that one, to give you some context. Now the up versus, and that Tandy tongue from Trent Moeller, again, the top had nice stage, great spatial clues, great bass. The up plays a bit warmer. It sounds more balanced than the top, and the top plays more mid forward. And I think that's that 800 hertz that you hear, that little bump over the up. Is, I think, where you're hearing that. And because there's a little bit less energy at that 2500, it kind of puffs up the mids a bit. So Climb on Board by Labyrinth. So the top bass has, again, really nice texture. There is no complaints about the bass from the top. It's still very musical and snappy. It's missing some of that extra weight that the up throws at it. But again, a lot of people will probably like that as well. And for the up, it was the same kind of comments as the previous track. It plays a bit warmer, more balanced, and the top sounded more forward. Now, Keith Don't Go by Nils Lofgren. So here with that, let's talk, and this is going to be a lot have to do with the upper mids and the energy up top. So the top, this is a Nils Lofgren live recording, and it's a very well recorded track. The top sounds very resolving, it really does. It's probably a more balanced mix than the up in this case, but when what I was saying, when he taps the guitar when he's playing and he slaps the side of the guitar, and you A/B the two, you can hear that extra mid bass energy that the up gives, because that thump is a thump on the up and it's a thump with the top. So in that particular case, overall the top was more balanced in a mix, but it was missing the bottom end, which kind of makes some of that track. You're listening for his vocals, you're listening for the twang of the guitar strings, and you're listening to the bass and that thump. And I think overall the up, the up vocals sound more natural, has more of a... Now, this was an interesting, and I noticed it on more than one track. So singers, I think, don't quote me on this, I think you're taught to like put your shoulders back and open up your lungs to get more out there, and that's kind of what it sounds like in this track too. It's like he's, it sounds more airy and it sounds more open. I think I hyperventilated there. And it sounds more Holy shit. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. I'm okay. Top has more upper mid. I could be dying here. Kilo's over there sleeping. He's like, you're okay. Top has more upper mids energy, but not as correct in the tone and the weight. And here was an interesting observation too, where the BAs and the two ultra highs for the BAs don't give the same kind of effect that the two EST Sonyans use in the ups. It's missing some of that special something that ESTs add to the very, very top end. And that was kind of one of my biggest questions about the top versus the up. Is it going to have that special sauce up top? And okay, let's keep going though. Lento by Yanyin. So phenomenal female vocalist. And these tracks have also good bottom end as well. So here I'm listening to the female vocals, and on the top they have a great presentation. It gives that slight edginess that I love in female vocals, like Melissa Etheridge, and like kind of, it's something a little bit different, right? Joan Jett, that kind of stuff. And the energy and the edginess I love in female vocals to make female vocals pop. And it has that in the top. And then, after doing so many of these songs and writing down, I first listened to a whole bunch of songs before I even start writing anything, right? But at this point, I know if we were to take on a tonality neutral scale, okay? This being super warm and dark, this being airy and dry. In perfectly neutral, the up goes to a little bit of the warmer side, and the top goes a little bit to the airy, dry side. Neither one are quite neutral in their tonality. So slightly warm on the up, slightly airy and dry on the top. And that kind of plays in part where in female vocals, the standout, clean, and detailed, where yes, I still prefer the tonality and the extra weight added to female vocals for the up. You can't help but appreciate the extra energy that it puts into female vocals. So if that was your genre you listen to more than one over the other, then that would sway you right there. It's like, I would pick the top over the up. The less mid bass in the top allows a little bit of more of the nuances to come through in the vocals for females, for sure. Now, Enter the Sandman. I keep putting a the and it's not. Sorry. Enter Sandman by Alyssa Cara. So this is the Metallica Enter Sandman song, but sung by her. Bass hits nice, fast, and punchy. There's no denying that the 10mm Barry driver of the top is standout. Absolutely. Again, the up comes through warmer. Bass has a bit more bleed, but I like it. It hits more of my preferences. It sounds more musical to me versus and more colored than the neutralness of the top. Now, True Colors, don't laugh when I tell you it's sung by Cyndi Lauper. Most of you have never been born when she was singing, but she's still alive. The top plays it clean, slight vocal forward, very nice bass. So, and then I started throwing in at this point, the Canon Yanyin Canon 2. Yanyin Canon C. Oh my God. Yanyin Canon 2. And this is kind of interesting, where all of a sudden in the 3, I can tell that the C2 has better timbre. more natural tonality. Vocals are not so pushed. Again, it hits with a smidge more mid-bass. So if we were to look at a graph, and I'll pull up a graph here of the three, you can see that they're right in between the two. And this is with the Canon bass switches up. And it's smoother than the top. Uh-oh. You can see where this is going. Now, you put the up into that same song in the mix, and it one-ups both of them for the smoothness level. I'm struggling here in this video, I'm sorry. And I had coffee. The Canon 2 out of the three has the best bass and the best vocals. So back to that graph going up the scale, where neutrality for tone, Canon C2, smack dab in the middle, up, top. Yeah. Overall, though, the up still had the best timbre, the best natural, the most natural tonality of instruments and vocals out of the three. You know, what do I wrote here, overall I prefer the up. I really do. Bass and mid-bass just have ability to add more note weight, adding into the depth of instruments like piano and male vocals. Yeah, it's more colored, but it's warmer. It sounds smoother to me. It's more analog. It's perfect for my preferences versus the different tuning of the top. With the top, put it on a resolving yet slightly warm source. Cirrus Logic works. Definitely more so, I think, than the AKM smoother, and definitely not as good as ESS. It took all the things that I were having reservations of the top, and you know, I think they were it added to that in a way that didn't make it as fun to listen. Let's put it that way. Definitely recommend the Divinus Velvet tips for the top if you're thinking about picking the setup. The tips did add and smoothed out the bass in the upper mid, so it was quite nice. Now, overall, to conclude, and I'm going to go over a little bit more just that comparison. You know, let's do that too. I'm going to actually do a spider graph for the three. And this is kind of how so I'll pull up the spider graph here. And now, if I were to rate the bass, quality, quantity, both together, for me it would be the up. The next would be the Canon 2, and then the top. For the mids, Canon 2 overall. The up, as much as I love my warmer, the Canon 2 I liked very much. And then last place was the top, treble. Up beats it with the ESTs for me. They had that special sauce in there. Definitely worth the adder. The Canon 2 came second, and then the top came in third place. If this was a race, which it is, because for your money, right? Timbre and tonality. It was a close one, but I gave it to the C2. I gave it to the Canon 2 just because not everybody likes overall warmness. So it was a good middle ground. And then it was the up, and then it was the top. So stage Canon 2, believe it or not. It stages really well. The up was second and top was third. Even though it had more energy, it didn't sound as open or as spacious as the other two. Musicality, easy win for the up. Canon 2 second and top third. Technical details, Canon 2 up, and then top came in last place again. Top came in last place in every category, by the way. Vocals up for me, number one. Canon number 2, top 3. Layering up again. Yeah. Canon 2. There's a reason why the up is twice the price. There you be. And top came in last. So it's kind of like interesting, like 3 price categories too, right? One's $379, one's $530. And again, but the up could also be purchased around the same price as well. Just to conclude also, the top has a lot of the Xenns Mangird DNA. Definitely in the bottom end, the base and that berry driver. The extra weight in the mid bass for me is what makes the up special, and that's what I really liked about the up as well. Where the top tried to change the tuning for a less dark IM, you accomplished that mission. You certainly did. And even with the use of the two 2600 versus 2300 Yanyin BAs, I think, well, I mean, what I would have loved to see in this IM is 4 of the Yanyin BAs for mids and 2 of the less tweeters. And putting the super tweeters, tuning them where they put in more further out, right? Up a higher extension to make some more air and details up top. And don't roll that off around that 2500 hertz. Keep it going like the up did. For me, the top is missing the EST special sauce. The roll off more a lot at the 7 to 10K. Also, probably why I like the treble better on the up than I did on the top. It just felt a little bit. It felt in the top that you had lots of still upper mids, but then the treble and details and treble extension were rolled off, and that's how it sounded to me. And the 3 dB more at 2.5K with the up, it does make instrumentals pop more. They were more pronounced, more realistic. The less energy at the 150 to 350, but more 800 hertz, is how they changed really the majority of the tuning in the mids and the lower mids. And where music is 80% in the mids, that's the important one. So if I had to choose, and I know you can kind of get them at the same price, for me, the up is the clear winner over the top. The top is not a replacement for the up. And again, my preference is I prefer the little bit warmer and mid bass hits that and the extra weight that adds into instruments and male vocals over the top. And I will sacrifice a little bit of the correct tonality of the female vocals for having a little bit more lusher, organic analog sounding IM. If I was considering these 3 and I didn't gravitate towards what I'm saying in the warmer, lusher, and that it's like oh no, I don't like that. Well, you might want to consider the Canon number 2, because it was a good balance between the 2 IEMs overall. Even though it's a 1+4, that bio diaphragm in the Yanyin that Yanyin uses, like the original Canon, was really standout. And now I'm going to do a review for the Canon, and I'm going to compare that also to that PULA PAO2 that I really love and see how that really does. But out of these 3, right, if you were considering the Yanyin Canon 2 and you were wondering about that, and you were wondering about the top and or the up, spending $379 for the C2, I think is a much smarter buy than buying the top. Personally, I think it's a better tuned, better sounding IM, and for the money that you'd save, you could buy the PULA PAO2 and the Canon C2 for pretty much the same price as the top. So I think that for me, the top is definitely not a recommended buy. There's better for less, bottom line. Where the up is still holds a special place, and in fact it's cemented that for in my heart, that it makes that IM for me so special. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I've got so much coming your way, so hope you're as excited as I am on this. Thanks much for watching.